Welcome back. I hope you're ready and are all feeling as energized as I am. As a part of our journey through this year's NELA, it's my pleasure to introduce our next session, Being a Successful Ship Leader. You'll find the meeting link provided. We have the honor of hearing from two outstanding leaders who bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to the table. Let me introduce our first speaker, Susanna Valdez-Wolf, our CEO. Susanna Valdez-Wolf has over 30 years of experience in the public, nonprofit, and private sectors. She is a founding member of Partners for Nonprofits and has served in numerous high-impact roles, including time in the White House during the Clinton-Gore administration. Susanna's expertise spans leadership and team development, strategic planning, fundraising, coalition building, and process integration. Before joining SHPE, she was the Chief Impact Officer at Taproot Foundation and raised over $40 million for the Adrienne Arsht Center for the Performing Arts. Her impressive background includes significant roles with the U.S. House of Representatives, the U.S. Senate, and the U.S. Department of Labor. Susanna holds an MPA from Columbia University and completed her undergraduate study at the University of Texas Pan American, now known as UT Rio Grande Valley. Our second speaker is Mary Hernandez. Mary Hernandez is a founding partner of the Garcia Hernandez Sawney LLP and leads the San Francisco Bay Area offices. She serves as outside general counsel to educational institutes and nonprofit organizations and has dedicated her legal career to public interest advocacy. Mary was the third female and youngest president of the Hispanic National Bar Association in 1994 and has twice been elected to the Board of Education for the San Francisco Unified School District. She has also been a staff attorney for the Multicultural Education Training and Advocacy nonprofit and has played a key role in supporting the next generation of English learner advocates in California. Both Susanna and Mary exemplify the spirit of SHPE, demonstrating unwavering dedication to leadership, advocacy, and community impact. Today's session will undoubtedly provide invaluable insights and inspiration for all of us aspiring SHPE leaders. So let's get ready to dive in and absorb all the wisdom and experience these remarkable ladies have to share. Please join me in welcoming Susanna Valdez-Wolf and Mary Hernandez. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. And I also want to thank you for your board leadership, for your collaboration, for your partnership, and your vision to help take SHPE to the next iteration of itself in the next 50 years. So, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. For some of you, this is your first NELA. This is my first NELA. And so I've been in this role for almost 15 weeks, and I've been looking forward to this day and this moment because I've heard so much about it. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. And I hope that this session brings value to you and just have patience with me as I get through this. Again, first NELA, it's a learning curve for me, but I'm very excited to be here. So as Karen mentioned, my career background, I was born and raised in El Paso, Texas. I then have lived in LA, DC, New York, and now I've been in Miami for the last 15 years. I do want to give a shout out to all of our members, staff, familia that lives in Texas. Some of you don't have power. Some of you are getting power from other sources. Some of you are really dealing with the aftermath of the storm. So we're thinking of you. And if you're able to join us, thank you for making that effort and then that initiative. And hopefully those that can't join us will be able to access this at a later point. So as the slide indicates, there are a couple of things that I'm going to go through in the next 15 or 20 minutes with you. The first item on the agenda is the importance of messaging about who SHPE is and what we do, our operating structure as an organization. Also key in that is the communication structure within the organization. Again, very helpful to you so that you know who is your point of contact and how you can get your problem solved. And then, as Karen mentioned, we're joined by Mary, who happens to be coming to you from Japan, where it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And so we're very grateful to her, she's been an incredible partner to the organization. She's been an incredible leader and has guided us on accountabilities and liabilities within the organization, and most importantly, ensuring that we protect our 501c3 status. So she will get to that in a second. So one of the things that I want to say is why NELA is important. And because SHPE is a national organization and we have broad scope, we have broad reach, we have over 7 regions, the strength and tenacity of who we are as an organization is about you, is about the members. And so one of the roles that we have as an organization, one of the things that we care about deeply is to give you the tools, give you the resources so that you can grow your leadership within your communities and the organization. So seeing you succeed is what makes us thrive. And so hopefully you'll walk away from this conversation and from this session feeling better informed and illuminate a little bit of our structure and how you communicate within the organization. So as we go to the next slide, the first area that we want to talk about is messaging. Making sure that where I'm grounded, you're grounded, we're all grounded on our mission, our vision, and our values. So one of the contexts that I want to provide to you today is our mission. So our mission goes back, our mission that you see on the screen goes back to 2011. So over 13 years ago, our mission and our vision was created by the leadership of the organization. And then the values were created in 2017, which was 7 years ago. Why is this important for you to know? It's mainly important because the mission, the vision, and the values gives you a framework of the direction of the organization's operations, culture, and strategic decision making. So hopefully you've taken some time to review the mission, vision, and values. They're here now, they're on our website, and I'm sure that they're in your handbook. So no matter where you are, no matter where I am, no matter where we are, we can look at these principles as guiding lights, as guiding principles to guide us on the work that we do, the events that we create, the programs that we create, and recruiting new members. Everything that we do should align around the mission, the vision, and the values. So if we go to the next slide, the next topic is building a powerful brand. So again, taking our mission, our vision, and our values all goes into who we are and as who we are as a brand. So this brand, what you're reading on the screen on this slide, was created in 2019. And so I want to talk a little bit about the meaning of the logo. Which I actually had questions about when I joined, and once I learned the story, I understood the value of the logo. So the SHPE logo position is kind of represents what I believe is the diversity of our organization. The 4 swirling shapes that you see there represent the interconnectedness of our community, the values of our familia, our value and our investment in service, education and resilience. And these elements are what created and really brought fruition to the logo that you see on the screen now. So I hope that's helpful information. And the logo on top of that was designed to convey the energy and teamwork found within the SHPE community. Whether you're a member, you're a volunteer with the organization, you're a staff member of the organization, you're a board volunteer, this was to really encapsulate and demonstrate the energy that we all bring to SHPE as the organization. So please keep in mind that as members, you are ambassadors of our brand, and all we ask is for you to safeguard that brand. Brands, as many of you that are in this business know, it's hard to develop a brand, but once you develop it and once everyone can embrace what the values around it, it's an incredible, powerful symbol to unite the organization. So now if we go into the next slide, which is, hold on one second, I grab my notes, is the operations or the STEM pathways. So what this represents is the main focus in reaching the pathways of how we reach our community, right? So as of today, SHPE's main focus is reaching and engaging high school, undergraduate, graduate students, as well as STEM professionals. There are, as I embark on my 15th week in the organization, I've had conversation with members and current members and members that have been here a while that talk about and have talked about our engagement in middle school and really thinking about our thoughtfulness, right? Which you see on that slide, how we can thoughtfully engage the middle school students and their families. And so we want to focus more into that. We want to explore that. We want to test that. We want to research that. But I would be remiss in not talking about our work there now and hopefully building our work in middle school and K through 12. So the second piece of this is the market alignment that came, I believe it was 2022, 2025 with a strategic plan that was developed by the board of directors. A big consideration in agreeing to this approach was understanding that SHPE cannot be all things to all people. And with an organization that has a 50-year legacy, that's discipline, because there's so many needs in our community. There's so many needs from our students. There's so many needs of what we all need, but we have to be very deliberate and intentional about what our superpowers are, what our secret sauce is, and what makes SHPE SHPE. And again, if we're leading Latinos and Hispanics in STEM, then we need to be true to that and stay disciplined in that vision. What I can say to you is that as we look at the next year and this fiscal year, so for those of you that maybe don't know this, our fiscal year runs from July through June. So we just finished our last fiscal year. We're starting our new fiscal year as of July 1, a week ago. And what's important about that is that the board and the organization is embarking on exploring a new strategic plan. And so as we think about what this new strategic plan looks like and where we want to go and how we want to lead the next 50 years, right? So if you think about this next year, it's the 51st year of the organization, and thinking if we can strategically and broadly, what will take us to the next 50 years. And so as we think about that, and I go back to our programming and our investments in early education, the studies that we're looking at come out that are, I guess, presenting to us that the STEM exposure is important in younger students. Our programming has reflected that and is reflecting that now, whether you're talking about Noche de Ciencias or our virtual STEM labs, which I've participated in and are outstanding. Equipando Padres, how we engage parents, families, especially of our first-time students, in supporting their dreams and their aspirations. So I feel that we're going to have more intention there. And And so stay tuned for that, and as we develop more programs there. So that's an overview of our STEM pathways. And as we go to our strategic goals, which is the next slide. Great. So going back to the strategic plan that was established a couple of years ago, you see the first one is protecting our core, grow to prosper, establish prestige, and respect in STEM. So as the board embarked on this strategic plan a couple of years ago, these were the pillars that were paramount and center to the success of the organization. And again, what drove our work, what drove our membership, what drove our contributions to community and giving back to community. And so this was a 3-year roadmap. And so we're now at the end of the 3 years. And so I believe that you all hopefully will agree, for those of you that have been with SHPE for a while, that we've made progress on each of these areas. So now we need to do a reassessment and a reevaluation if we want to stay with this, or we want to expand on this, or we want to change this. So we plan to communicate with every one of you and keep everyone apprised as to the strategic planning process. To give you all some kind of context on timeline, we plan to embark on this at the end, or probably the second quarter, and hopefully by the end of the year have something that is solid and that is has been evaluated and approved by all stakeholders, and we can present it, have a larger presentation around our next strategic plan. So moving on to the next slide. So we thought it would be important for you all to understand, for all of us to understand the operations piece. So if you look at SHPE as an organization, as a structure, the CEO and the staff is the operational side of SHPE. The board is the strategic piece and the strategic decision makers, those that set strategic direction for the organization. And keep in mind that a strategic plan can evolve. What we want to ensure that everyone's clear on the strategic direction of the organization. So getting back to operations and the excellent team, the incredible team that makes up the staff of SHPE, what you see before you is an org chart. So as you look, and I know it might be a little bit hard to read, but this will be accessible to you. So right now, and this org chart was created by the previous CEO, so this may have changes come in the future, or it may not. We haven't decided that yet. So if you look at the 4 areas, it's HR, human resources, and our chief of staff, which is Ernie. Number 2 is Rhonda, who heads up administration and finance. Dr. Douglas, who heads up research and innovation, and Monique, who heads up external relations. The goal of this structure was to elevate excellent programming that I've talked about that we have in our R&I team, also enhancing the corporate STEM relationships. So we have our external relations team does an extraordinary job of engaging our IPC and all these. This is probably foreign to all of you, but just think of it as our corporate partners, our corporate sponsors that invest and invest in the dream of ensuring that every student, right, gets to a career and a pathway that in STEM that makes it possible by our corporate partners. And so that's critical to allowing us to give you the resources, whether it's through scholarships, whatever opportunities that we make going to convention. It's like our corporate partners make that possible. We also have other partners that make that possible, grantors in the community, whether they're in the government or it's private foundations that do that. And so it takes a lot to make the dream come true. And so we're grateful for that. And also, as part of RNI is membership, which is led by Ashley, who does an incredible job, and ensuring that the support that you need as membership to grow and develop as leaders is supported in our organization. So again, this was created by a previous CEO. I think that it functions nicely for now, but as we embark on a new strategic plan, we may have a new operation structure, so stay tuned. But most importantly, we want to make sure that whatever organization we create, whatever structure we create works for you as members. We're here to support you and to ensure that you have a successful journey through school and through your professional career. Okay, so this next slide about communication is key. Why is it key? We're here to make your lives easier, not here to make it difficult. So if you look at the slide, what we feel that we've set up is a communications operation, a communications chain, to ensure that if you have questions, we're guiding you to the right resources, to the right staff, to the right leadership that can get your questions answered. And so this structure and this communication structure was developed with that in mind. The goal is if things can be, if challenges and problems can be solved at the local and the chapter level, that's ideal, right? That there's no need to escalate it outside of that. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support that we empower, that we provide information, and we provide the resources that you need at the local level to resolve any challenges. The basic rule of thumb, if I could plant this with you as your takeaway for this conversation, is if you are a chapter leader, you should contact your regional student rep, your regional graduate rep, your regional junior rep, if that's applicable, with questions, suggestions, concerns, and then they will escalate it as needed. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule. So the exception to that rule is if that you're a professional, you go straight to your RVPs. And if I can kind of put in a PS on the RVPs, I've had a chance to engage with the RVPs in the last 14 or 15 weeks that I've been here. Incredible group, committed, extraordinary resources, and have passion for mission and have passion to serve and to support their regions. So they're an incredible resource. The next thing I'd like to talk about, and again, this is as much as education for me as it is me imparting this with you, is if you receive an email or see a post that says to contact a department directly, what does that mean? Like, I think one of them is events@ship.org, marketing@ship.org, chapters@ship.org. Always follow that direction. So a communication structure does not supersede whatever's being sent to you proactively in an email. So if you have any further questions about that, we're here to answer those questions. Again, to reiterate, this communication flow was established to support you and to help you resolve issues quickly. And the most important thing is, as we all know, information is key, information is critical, and keeping those that need to be in the loop, keep them in the loop, so that everyone is informed as to what challenges and what questions you may have. So I believe that takes us to our next slide. So our next slide is, again, thanking Mary, coming to us from Japan, which I'll turn this over to Karen. One thing I want to say as CEO about Mary, she's an incredible partner. She's a guiding light. She's always here to protect us in the organization, to protect you. The information that she's going to share with you has purpose, has value, has impact. So I just ask you to listen to what Mary has to share with you. If you have questions, we will follow up with you. So now I'll turn this back over to Karen so she can introduce Mary. So thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Susanna. I really appreciate the very kind introduction. It's been my pleasure to serve as general counsel to SHPE off and on for more than 30 years now. Why is it important to review accountability? And I'll try not to make this dry, even though it's about legal issues. And that, as Susanna mentioned, we need to protect our 501c3 status. Reviewing the duties of volunteer board members helps avoid personal liability on your part, and also just reduces exposure to SHPE as a whole. And so that's the basic reason for a quick focus on this. Some of you may be new to volunteering in board positions, and this is something to support you, and it may be a refresher to others. Let's go to the next slide. I guess we can go to the next one. So if you keep your focus on your vision and your purpose and your mission, as was already summarized for you, that will satisfy 95% of almost all of the compliance issues I'm going to cover. And that's because SHPE's purpose and SHPE's mission meet the legal definition of a charitable organization, and focusing on that purpose and mission keeps us compliant with just about everything. We are recognized as a 501c3, and so all of our activities and operations are required by law to be in line with that purpose. As a 501c3, all of us basically are stewards of charitable funds, and have to make sure that they are expended and utilized to meet our charitable purposes. And so your responsibility is to ensure that all of your chapter activities and operations, for example, are in line with those stated purposes. And those purposes are going to be found in SHPE's bylaws and in your own organization's bylaws, if you ever want to review them carefully. Next slide. So I think these purposes were outlined very well by Susanna, that your mission is focusing on empowering the Hispanic community to reach their full potential and impact the world through STEM awareness. You develop funds for educational purposes and scholarships, sponsor seminars, and fantastic conferences. And in SHPE's bylaws, you will see that SHPE's chapters were created to support SHPE's mission and purpose. And so you're part of SHPE's overall mission and guiding purpose. Okay, next slide. So there are three duties that are broad and general that folks often refer to when they talk about the duties and responsibilities of volunteer board members. And those are the duty of care, the duty of loyalty, and the duty of obedience. And those are, I will cover very quickly today. And, that the duty of care is often referred to as a business judgment rule, and we're going to go over that. The importance of meeting these duties is that if you do, you cannot be held liable for monetary damages based on, your performance of your duties as a volunteer leader. When you're performing them in good faith and you meet these standards, then you give yourself some immunity from monetary damages in potential litigation. Next slide, please. So the duty of care, the first part of that duty is to, that basically when people, what is the standard is, what would a prudent person in your position do under similar circumstances? And minimally, we expect everyone to be informed and ask questions. When you have the information, you ask the questions that you need to be informed, then you use that information and exercise reasonable care when you make decisions as a steward of, charitable funds. And so people would ask the question, with the information that you had and the ability to ask questions, would an ordinarily prudent person have made similar decisions? And if the answer to that is yes, anybody who's reasonable with that information would have done the same thing, then you've clearly accomplished meeting your duty of care. Next slide, please. So the duty of loyalty is keeping the interests of SHPE first and foremost in all decisions you make as a SHPE leader. In other words, you're not, when a decision is to be made, you're not saying, what's in it for me, what's in it for this special interest group that I'm affiliated with. Your primary and only allegiance is what's in the best interest of SHPE in meeting its mission and purpose. So that's why these other bullets are there, is that our volunteer leaders should not be using SHPE resources for personal gain and always act in the best interest of SHPE as a whole. Volunteer leaders are expected to comply with the Code of Conduct and Ethical Behavior. You're all representatives of SHPE, and you set an example for others as a representative of SHPE. And so, in order to build and maintain public trust, we want to avoid not only avoid actual conflicts of interest, but avoid the appearance of conflicts of interest in all that we do. In the duty of obedience is really, that's okay you went on, that's okay. The duty of obedience is really obedience to the mission, the purpose, laws, and policies of the organization. And to just be, always do your best to be faithful to the mission of the organization and act in a way that is consistent with SHPE's strategies and goals. And again, this is to build and maintain public trust. I do want to mention one thing. The one thing that we don't have a slide for, but the one thing that 501c3s, charitable organizations, are absolutely prohibited from doing, and that's getting involved in political campaigns. So it is, as a charitable organization, we cannot, in SHPE's name, be supporting or opposing political candidates for office at any level, local up to national. But if you're keeping your focus as a leader on SHPE's purpose and mission, that will never be a problem. Okay, the next one. So when could you be held liable as a volunteer? And I want to say this is rare, but we don't want to ever see it happen. In my 30 plus years representing SHPE, we've never had a volunteer board member be held liable. And we want to keep it that way, of course. For self-dealing transactions, that's where you make a decision to use SHPE resources in a way that is to line your own pockets or line the pockets of others, and not for a charitable purpose. Allowing that to happen. For acts or omissions that are intentionally reckless, grossly negligent, or outside of the scope of your duties or not made in good faith. Okay, what are those being? What could that involve? I think an example of something that would be grossly negligent would be if a chapter decided that it would be just a great idea to allow hazing of new members, and just thinking that that's just something that's fun and good, and let's allow it, notwithstanding the fact that we know that somebody could get hurt, and then somebody does get hurt. That would be so grossly negligent that those in the chapter board that allowed that to happen would likely be held personally liable. Acts or omissions outside of the scope of your duties. A clear example of that is assault, battery, sexual harassment. It is not within the scope of your duties to do any of those things. So if you engage in those kinds of activities, SHPE can't protect you from that. Or decisions that you just don't make in good faith that don't meet the standards that I described before. So if you know or should know that a condition under your control could cause harm, but you negligently fail to take action to avoid the harm, that's where that's the kind of, like the hazing example I tried to provide, an example of when there could be a liability issue. And of course, we always encourage you and urge you to let us know if you think there's an exposure in some activity or some situation. Next slide. So as a SHPE representative, you never take your SHPE hat off. I'll say so. Like Susanna's hat, it never comes off. Whether you're wherever you are, you're representing SHPE. So as a board leader and a chapter leader, so you should be aware of that in your social and professional interactions. And so we ask that our chapter leaders lead by example and comply with the code of conduct, and again emphasizing always to make sure activities are aligned with SHPE's strategic plan. Okay, next slide. So this includes in our social media age all of our communications, being professional with things that are writing and are on social media and are out and available. It used to be I would worry only about emails, because emails last forever, and there are folks who would send inappropriate jokes or materials on email, and people receiving them would one day say how funny and amusing they are, and the next day they're Exhibit A or Exhibit B to a complaint about, see how this person is, look at this inappropriate exchange. They last forever, and I would urge you to always be professional. And then social media makes it 10 times worse. So you want to be careful representing yourself as a SHPE member in terms of debauchery on social media with a SHPE hat. But and we also really want your voice to be aligned with SHPE and not a vehicle to air dirty laundry. If there are issues, we try to resolve them internally, because our goal is to present SHPE in the most positive light possible for the world in order to accomplish our goals. So everything we are doing should be to promote SHPE's purpose and mission, and tearing each other down does not further that mission or vision or purpose. And so if there are issues, the way to they need to be addressed in order to best pursue our purpose and our mission, but they should be addressed in a constructive way that builds us up and makes us stronger. Next slide. In extreme circumstances, again, this is rare, but it is in the bylaws, chapters who are not focused in the areas in which I have described previously, any chapter could be terminated by the National Board for reasons deemed sufficient by the board for taking that kind of action. And a terminated chapter would no longer be associated with SHPE or receive any of the benefits associated with SHPE, including the use of SHPE's name and trademarks, etc. We don't expect that to happen, but that would be the extreme consequence of not acting in good faith as a chapter and being true and focused on SHPE's purpose and mission. And I think that's it. Let's see if there are any other slides. That is it. So it might be question time.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. I want to just remind our audience that this is important, and you're going to have questions that are going to come up around, especially social media, and the next 4 or 5 months that there's political campaigning, political engagement, fundraising. So Mary has given us great guidelines, great instruction on how to protect the organization and to protect you. So thank you again, Mary, for this great presentation. So as we close, I just want to do a couple of thank yous. First and foremost, thank you all for being here. Leadership matters. You matter to SHPE. I've been an incredible and grateful beneficiary of leadership development throughout my career, and have been mentored by great leaders. And so whatever we can do to help map out your leadership journey, your leadership growth, and your leadership development, that's one of the reasons why we put NELA together. I also want to thank the team that's behind the scenes and in front of the camera that brought NELA to you today and tomorrow. Everyone on the staff and everyone involved wants to get it right for you all as members. That's why we create the programs, why we create these events, is to ensure that we're doing right by you. And so we hope that today and tomorrow delivers on that. And But please understand the hours, the investment of time, the investment of passion from the staff that has made NELA possible. So I'm very grateful to them. This is my first one, and it's been an extraordinary experience so far. So thank you for your time. As I've said to you before, the mission of SHPE is what called me here, but it's everyone that's involved in the organization that's inspiring me every day. So thank you for that inspiration. I hope that we all leave here energized and excited to continue with the next session, which happens to be our sponsor showcase. And you can access that showcase through the agenda. But before that, if there's any questions, we will take some questions now.
Yep. Thank you, Susanna. Okay. The first question we have from our audience is from Thin Pham. This is actually from Mary. Can you give an example of monetary damage? I don't quite understand that phrase.
I see. Well, in the hazing example I gave, which no chapter has ever done that, so it's just a hypothetical. But if someone were to get hurt or die, which has happened in like fraternities, sororities, with hazing, where events, they will sue, and they could sue for millions for medical pain and suffering, any kind of damages of that nature. That would be an extreme. There was actually one instance in my 30 plus years with SHPE, just one, where activities of a chapter caused a lawsuit, and it was SHPE that was national that was sued. And so and it's almost a guarantee that if a chapter causes an incident where someone is injured or hurt or claims damages, they're going to sue us in addition to the chapter, because they're going to go after whoever is associated with the SHPE name and may have resources. And that was the ladies' night lawsuit in San Diego about 18 years ago, where a SHPE chapter had a celebratory event at a club that was having a ladies' night. And in California, we had just passed a law saying you can't discriminate on the basis of any protected class status. So some males came to the event. They had a SHPE flyer inviting people to this party, and they said, the male said, I wanted a ladies' night discount. They said, you're not a lady, no. And so anyway, there's automatic damages in the statute for each violation. So every time we turned away a male who wanted a discount, it was an automatic $4,000 per person. But so those are the kinds of damages people ask for in lawsuits. They ask, but the one I'm more worried about for individual board members is you allowing a situation where someone might be physically harmed or psychologically harmed in some way. That's the one I'm probably more worried about.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. This next question is for you, Susanna. What are some of the most important leadership lessons you've learned throughout your career that could benefit chapter leaders? That was provided by Hernan Hernandez Garcia.
Thank you, Herman, for that question. There's so many, but I'm going to try to narrow it down to a couple. I've always learned and respected leaders that listen. And leadership is really about listening, because it's not about you, it's about them. And so if you're a good listener, then you will be a good partner, you'll be a good collaborator. And you will earn a lot of respect because you understand the value of listening. One of the second, I think second that I always say is that teamwork makes the dream work. That you are part of a larger something. Whether you're part of a larger team, whether it's a team of 2, it's a team of 3, a team of 20, it's like, just keep in mind that there are other people that are looking at you, that are depending on you, are leaning on you, whether you may recognize it or not, but people watch what you do and recognize the responsibility that carries for you as an emerging leader. And the last one I'll share with you came to me from the Secretary of Labor. She was the first African-American female Secretary of Labor appointed as Secretary of Labor in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things that she always said was, bloom where you're planted. And what I interpret that as meaning is that people sometimes are always looking at their next thing as to where they next want to go. But if you bloom and you shine where you are now, that next thing will come to you, because people will notice who you are, what passion you have for your work, the care that you have for others that you work with. And that really speaks volumes versus how prepared you think you are to take the next step. So those are some of my guiding principles. Again, I could spend 30 minutes with you, but those are the ones I'd like to impart with you in the time that we have right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susanna. This one is potentially for both of you. This one is provided anonymously. How can chapters effectively maneuver through anti-DEI policies? That may be bigger than, I know we can't take all of these questions, but I wanted to make sure, and which of you, whoever wants to answer that one, feel free.
So I'll take a stab at it, and then Mary, if you want to jump in. So one of the things that when I encounter anti-DEI, especially when you think about our mission as SHPE and what we're here to do, and what I say to anyone, especially people that really don't understand kind of the value of what SHPE brings. And the value about SHPE is not that only that we're Hispanics and that we're Latinos, but we are the future. And we are the workforce. We are the workforce solution for this country moving forward. So if you want to look at it as anti-DEI, I understand that we all work, that's a reality in some of our worlds, and I respect that. But I invite you to turn the tables and to think about this as a competitiveness and the value that Latinos have and will continue to have in our workforce readiness, the innovation economy that has been created and will only become greater as we move forward, and the role and the contributions we make in that world as far as STEM is concerned. So as I've learned and navigated my way these last 15 weeks, that we are an asset to the future of this country, because the investments and the if we look at the 18,000 members that we have and growing at SHPE, no one can the takeaway they have is respect for the careers that you're pursuing, the studies that you're pursuing, and what contributions that will make, of course, as Latinos, but also to the greater country. So I hope I didn't veer too much off the question, and Mary, I invite you to address that.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. It's bigger than a bread box right now in the current environment. I do find it's something we deal with actually quite a bit at our firm. We help our clients with policies that promote equity and inclusion. And I really see DEI as, and I would frame it this way, as helping lift everyone up, and that it really is inclusive. But I just have two additional comments. I thought Susanna's response was right on. One is that it's going to be the challenges that you face are going to be different in every state, because every state has different levels of activism. And so, and I am familiar with a bunch of those and the state laws and how they differ. And I think people also get stuck on buzzwords. They're words that trigger people. So I just say, if you focus on the goals you're trying to achieve, I think it'd be really hard for anyone to really argue with the purpose and mission of our organization, and just stay away from the buzzwords that trigger people, and focus on your purpose and mission, and you'll accomplish the same things. That's might be, focus on things that bring people together on the high road, that, focusing on lifting everyone up. Sorry.
Great. Thank you both for that answer. As our last question, as we're winding up, I know there's lots of great questions. It sounds like the team in the chat is letting everyone know if we didn't get to your question, to sign up to see the Familia meetings with the CEO. So we'll make sure and incorporate some of those unanswered ones with there. But for our last question, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Wow, that is an excellent question. So I would say that my answer is always yes. And I would say that only like recently in my career. So you can imagine, and Mary, I have to think that we crossed paths when you were the national medical. Yes, it's like it all came to me when you talked about.
Yeah, exactly. It just came to me today too.
So we're having a reunion, folks, 30 years later. So I will use my time that when I served in the White House as the beginning of the imposter syndrome. And if you can imagine that, number one, I was one of 10 Latinos in the White House. Right now, you have about 50 to 60 Latinos serving in the White House. So I was one of 10, and I looked around me, and you had MBAs, you had lawyers, but not only that, you had Harvard law, you had Yale law, so every policy conversation I would be in, and again, this is UT Edinburgh, okay, coming to the table, a girl from El Paso that was born on the US-Mexican border, and finding myself in these conversations going, how is it that I make a contribution to this conversation? But that didn't hold me back, because you don't get to where you all are by not thinking about what it is that your dreams are, how you want to fulfill what's in your heart and how you want to contribute to your communities. And I would say that kind of getting through that imposter syndrome, it will pop up from time to time, but just be rooted in your gifts. Everybody has a superpower. Everybody has a secret sauce. And sometimes you can't see it, but surround yourself with people that see your superpower and see your secret sauce, and remind you what contributions you make, the value that you have, and how you belong at any table, anywhere.
Yeah. I know we're kind of out of time. Well, I'll just say one thing. I'm also from Texas, but a much smaller town than El Paso. I'm from Victoria, and I think I was the first person from my high school to go to Harvard undergrad. And I know there are lots of very capable, very smart people. Why me? And I always why me? Do I really belong here? But I think when I first finally got over that, also having experienced a lot of prejudice that Mexican Americans are inferior and don't belong in these hallowed halls. I think when I finally got over that was when I I'm in Japan right now, and it's because I've always had this fascination with martial arts and East Asian studies, and so I took an East Asian studies class at all grade levels in it, freshman through senior, and I was a freshman, and I was so into it and studied so hard, I got the top grade in the class, and I said, heck, I do belong here. I'm pretty good when I'm focused. When I'm focused, I can put my mind to things. And so I think it is just you through your accomplishments and your hard work, and you got to build that self-confidence and ignore the naysayers, and so that's I have other stories, but that's the one that came to mind because of where I am right now.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you both for answering the questions. I hope everyone enjoyed the session. This will be on demand later if you'd like to view it again. Otherwise, please enjoy the sponsor showcases, which will be kicking off just after our break. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ship.